So we click transaction, and once we're here, you're doing this step after you've sent out your buyer agency documents out for signatures and you've gotten them back signed. So let's say I sent them out to my buyer client that they're going to purchase with me, and I've got my documents and they're all signed, and now I'm ready to submit these buyer agency documents into SkySlope. So it's going to ask you representation type. This is the same as before. The questions and the content is the same. It just looks different. It's a different layout. So it's going to ask you pre-contract, I don't have a signed offer, or under contract. The majority of the time, you are going to be selecting pre-contract because buyer agency documents are required to be submitted within the first 24 hours of having them signed. So unless you got your buyer agency documentation and an offer to purchase signed by a seller within the same 24 hours, you're more than likely going to be clicking pre-contract. Or if you have not submitted your buyer agency documents and you're a month in and now you got an offer to purchase signed and now you are submitting your documents, that is when you would click under contract. So we're going to start with pre-contract, and after that, it's going to ask to pull from your files, from your forms files. So then I would pull in from the file of my client who signed all of their documents, and then I click continue. It's going to load some of the information in there, and it'll say right here your office. So it'll say Winston-Salem or Summerfield or Oak Ridge, and then it'll ask you to select a checklist for this property. Now, the only checklists that are available for buyers all say, besides the rental ones, all say under contract. That can be confusing because we first selected pre-contract, and now the checklist says under contract. SkySlope is actively working to come out with a new checklist that will be in this list of checklists that correlates more with the pre-listing theme. So it'll be just buyer agency documents. But it's okay for now, for the time being. We just recommend that you choose the checklist that you think will apply to your client. So if you've got a strong inclination that they're going to purchase new construction, you select new construction. If you know that they're going to purchase a resale property, select under contract, resale, buyer represented. It's okay. You can switch the checklist later on if you need to. And a better update that they did is that now if you switch the checklist to a new checklist, it doesn't kick out your forms files anymore. So they'll still be in the checklist items that you attach them to. The checklist is just going to change if you change the checklist. So that's okay. So I think my buyer is going to purchase a resale property. So I select that checklist, and then I'm going to click continue. It'll ask about the buyer's information. If you click on edit, it'll show you the rest of their information, and you can emphasize if it is a company, trust, or entity, or add another buyer. If you make any changes, you save and then continue. And now it has submitted all of that buyer agency information into transaction details. And now you can see your buyer agreement documentation, and it'll also show you the sales documentation. I'm not sure if with the new checklist, it will show you this one as well. We haven't seen it yet, but either way, it's just there available for when you are ready. So as you can tell, before, when you would create a transaction, you would have all these tabs up here relating to the transaction. But since we selected that we are in the pre-listing stage, it only has transaction details, checklist, documents, and log. We typically go to documents and we assign our files onto the checklist items. So this is the Altate Buyer Agency Agreement. I'm going to check this right here, assign, and then we're going to assign it to the item that it belongs to. These are sales documents, but if we scroll down, it'll say closing documents and then buyer agreement documentation. That is the amendment. So I don't need the amendment actually. We'll just do the buy and borrow bundle, assign. There we go. And then click assign again. And you just do that for all the forms that you have. If it's got a paper clip, that means it's already been assigned to a checklist item, so you don't need to worry about those. One more time. This is the RESPA form, the Affiliated Business Disclosure Arrangement and Disclosure. Assign. All right. So let's just say that I've assigned all of my items to the checklist and they're all in review. Great. And now I have an offer that has been accepted. Once you have an accepted offer, you are going to click on Accept Contract right here in your file. By accepting the purchase contract, the file will convert from a pre-contract stage to under contract stage. Additional information will be needed to be completed. This is basically just going to ask you the same questions that the previous SkySlope was asking you. It just looks different. So, which office is this for? Of course, it's going to say your office. The MLS number may or may not have been fed in through here, but best practice is, yes, fill in the MLS number for the listing so that this file can be easier to find for your BSS and for your BICS in case they ever need to help you with something. So they do recommend that you add in the MLS number. You'll have the street address. It still requires the year built. APN does not apply. You don't need to worry about that. Once you have filled the year built, then you can click continue. Again, it's going to ask about the purchase price, contract acceptance date. All of this information is still the same information that it asked you before. Escrow number is optional, and then continue. Now we are at contacts. You can edit your buyer's information. For your sellers, it still requires the seller's first name and last name. Of course, you don't have to submit their contact information or anything like that. And then continue. It will also feed in the other agent's information. If you click edit, you'll be able to see their brokerage, phone and email number. Phone number and email address. And save any information and then continue. So in this page, if you notice, it's got these options: escrow, title, and attorney. And the continue button is gray, which means you can't click it. You do not have to fill out the escrow, title, or attorney information. You don't have to fill it out. It's not required. All you have to do is click one of these buttons. If you just click it, the continue button will light up and you can keep moving forward. Now, you can go through. I always recommend to be as thorough as possible. So you can go through and select yes or no, and then go to title, yes or no, attorney, maybe yes, and fill in the information if you want. But just by clicking one of these tabs, this continue button is going to light up and then you can continue. Do you have a loan officer? Are you going to be using a transaction coordinator? Did this listing come from a referral agent? And now it'll ask you about the sale commission, any other deductions or commission notes, and continue. Are we holding earnest money? Just answer no or yes, create the transaction. Now you've got the commission tab that came up, tasks, and property tab that came up. And your checklist for now still looks the same. So then you would just add in all of the documents that have to do with the transaction. Your offer to purchase, MOG, residential property disclosure, lead-based paint if it applies, all that good stuff. And that is basically it.